It sort of taught me that being honest is what counts. Trying to make the ordinary extraordinary is so much better than starting with the extraordinary, because it doesn't really connect. You watch those sort of shows and it washes over you, don't think about it the next day. Whereas if something is real for one person, it's touched their life. And I think as a creator and a director, it's your job to make an audience as excited and fascinated about a subject as you are.
Making the ordinary extraordinary is such a wonderful turn of phrase from Ricky Gervais, and got me thinking about the best stories ever told. So many of them are brilliant because they centre on ordinary people in relatable situations achieving the remarkable. This is a key factor in helping our reader connect with the narrative, and helps the story stick around in our mind. Even the more fantastical stories at their core, despite all the unrealism around them, are so thrilling because they centre on normal lives, decisions and actions of everyday people. It can be very tempting to write a large, melodramatic story about cowboys, warrior princesses or aliens, but there is definitely an argument to be made that the lives of ordinary people are just as compelling as those of the greatest and most bombastic. Certainly from a realism perspective, it is much easier for audiences to connect with people who they can see elements of themselves within. Most people are relatively ordinary and are more likely to be invested, inspired by, and concerned about the lives and actions of people they can see themselves amongst. Somebody they can sympathise with and understand. That doesn't mean that people can't connect with larger-than-life figures, of course they can, but what you'll notice is that we connect with the most human and fundamental elements of them, not their magic or skills. Anakin Skywalker isn't perceived by many as a sympathetic character because of his Force powers, but because of the very human struggle he goes through across the Star Wars saga, even if it's not the most well-written. The same goes for his son Luke, who lives an ordinary life relative to the world around him. Mulan, the good one, isn't interesting for us because she can do kung fu better than we can, but because she is an ordinary girl protecting her family, which is something we can all understand. The less ordinary you make your characters, like the modern Mulan, with her mystic powers and less normal life, the less likely it will be that readers will be interested in them. People want to be inspired or warned to do things, but that can't happen if the characters are already gods. As a writer, it is also much easier to write about the ordinary because that's what we've experienced. There's a reason why our lives and actions are important to us. That's because they happen in our lives every single day, and we see and feel the consequences. Things happening to us in real life may be small in the grand scale of the universe, but they can be crucial and devastating to us in our own little world. This is what makes the best stories interesting. Look at the highest rating films or TV shows on IMDb, and all of them are concerned with ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Shawshank, The Lord of the Rings, Fight Club, Breaking Bad, Chernobyl, Schindler's List, and so on. They all put a huge amount of emphasis on the lives of individuals acting in challenging and difficult circumstances and pulled from their normal life. For us as potential authors, we have a huge wealth of experience from our own lives to draw upon. We can analyse our own lives and those of others around us and find tales and stories of people doing amazing things without needing starships or magic to make that happen. This is what I've discovered in my pivot away from fantasy books into writing something more personal about my grandma. It's far more fulfilling and interesting and engaging for me to write about because the concept of normal people being abnormal is so incredibly captivating. That doesn't mean you can't write about fantasy, or sci-fi, or anything else that necessitates a fictional setting. Of course you can. But the heart of your tale should be on the ordinary. In fact, putting ordinary and relatable people in unknown situations and having them act as we may act can be very interesting and exciting. You just have to make sure that your world doesn't overtake your characters, and the grounded reality of the ordinary doesn't give way to unrelatable scale. Your life and the lives of people are just as fascinating as dragons and aliens because they're real. They actually happened. The emotions, the consequences are vivid and unmistakable. You can use the most accessible resource that exists: yourself.